After caring for the CEO in a vegetative state for 2 years, the first day he woke up, his unrequited love proposed to him. "Donald, I've taken care of you for 2 years, now that you're finally awake, can I marry you?" He calmly accepted the flowers. In a corner, my body stiffened as I lamented how my 2 years of effort had become another person's wedding dress. Donald kicked her away. "No way, get lost." I was unconscious, not dead, dreaming of marrying me. "Keep dreaming, no. Not even in your dreams." After 2 years of caring for Donald, who had been in a vegetative state from a car accident, he finally woke up. At the Miller family's entrance, someone stopped me. Fiona snorted arrogantly at me. "Nancy, you can't compete with me. You took care of Donald for 2 years. So what? Do you believe me? If I propose to him now, he'll accept without hesitation. Don't forget, he likes me. I believe in his words." Donald and Fiona were childhood sweethearts who grew up together, sharing a deep bond, and were considered the perfect couple in H City. In the past, Donald fulfilled all of Fiona's wishes, treating her like a treasure in his hands, so it's no wonder that, upon waking up, he accepted Fiona's marriage proposal. But I took care of Donald for 2 years, and I still wanted to see with my own eyes what Donald would look like when he woke up, while the family doctor examined Donald. I remained still in a corner, watching. The moment the exam ended, the door before him swung open simultaneously, allowing sunlight to flood in. Fiona, dressed in a wedding gown and holding a bouquet, stepped into the light as she walked toward Donald. "Donald, I've taken care of you for 2 years, now that you've finally awakened, will you marry me? Let's stay together forever." Donald rubbed his eyes without saying a word. Fiona continued with her heartfelt declaration. "Donald, I love you so much. You've been asleep for 2 years, and I've been taking care of you all this time. During these 2 years, I've personally handled everything for you, never leaving your side. I finally waited for you to wake up. We were supposed to get married 2 years ago, but it's still not too late. After all the hardships, I've finally tasted the sweetness. How wonderful." Donald stopped rubbing his eyes and reached out to take the flowers Fiona offered him. "Indeed," Donald agreed. Just as I was lamenting that all my efforts over the past 2 years had simply paved the way for someone else, Donald suddenly stood up and kicked Fiona away. "Good your mother, Fiona, I was unconscious, not dead. How dare you say, after suffering comes happiness with that poker face. You took care of me for 2 years. What a big lie. You come to propose to me pregnant with another man's child. With what dog eyes did you think I was so stupid? Get out of here, damn it." Probably didn't expect Donald to be so fierce. Fiona is completely stunned now. "Donald, you, what are you talking about? Don't understand what I'm saying. Do I need to repeat what you said when you were complaining in my hospital room with your boyfriend?" "Donald, it wasn't like that. Please let me explain." "No." Donald's face flushed with anger, probably from suddenly sitting up and feeling dizzy, then lying back down again. "Wasn't it you who brought people to my hospital room to have fun? Wasn't it you who said doing it in my room would be more exciting? Wasn't it you who got pregnant? Wasn't it you who called me blind and stupid behind my back? And now you come to propose marriage to me. Have you no shame? Aren't you embarrassed?" Although Fiona was Donald's childhood sweetheart, she never took care of him after his accident. I thought she was just trying to take credit for my efforts now. But I never imagined she had done all these things. The amount of information was overwhelming, and I was left stunned. Fiona's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. Even in this situation, she refused to give in and even tried to slander me. "Donald, that's not true. Nancy did all of that. I like you so much. How could I do those things? I'm Fiona, the Fiona you liked the most before. I know you're a dead fish. If I hadn't liked you enough to understand you before, I wouldn't have been sure it was you. Besides, didn't I suffer punishment for liking you before?" "Donald," Fiona wanted to say more, but Donald interrupted her directly. "If you don't leave now, I'm going to let the dog out." I realized that Donald might genuinely hate Fiona now. Fiona was terrified of dogs. In the past, Donald had kept his beloved dog locked in the basement out of respect for Fiona's feelings. He only let the dog out after Fiona had left. Later, Donald's dog got pregnant and had puppies. Fiona arrived at the Miller family without Donald's knowledge, saw those puppies, and took them away directly. Later, those puppies froze to death outside. Although Donald was angry, he never said anything about setting the dogs on Fiona, but now he didn't hold back at all, openly showing his disdain for Fiona. "I'm really going to make a scene, waking up to see a dead fish. My eyes are about to be blinded. No way." Go buy me 10 ferocious dogs right now. From now on, let the dogs bite her every time you see this woman, and also, throw away all the sofas, cabinets, curtains, and furniture from here, then disinfect the room 10 times. Who knows if this woman has some disease? Fiona's face darkened, but she only dared to complain softly. Donald, we've known each other since childhood. There's no need to humiliate me like this. Of course it's necessary. Is this humiliating you? Donald snorted coldly. Did I complain and whine in front of you with someone else? Who's really humiliating whom here? Donald ignored Fiona's stammering and directly called the butler nearby. Bob, go get my little AI and bring her here to bite her. Bob, the butler who had raised Donald, immediately went to fetch the dog. Fiona was so frightened that she grabbed her skirt and ran off, though not before shooting me a furious glare. I suppose she was probably rushing back to the Smith family to tell them what I said to Donald, but I didn't stop her. After witnessing that farce, it was time for me to leave as well. I intended to slip away quietly through a corner, but unexpectedly, Donald spotted me immediately. Nancy, I froze. He had actually called out to me suddenly. I felt a bit nervous. During my 14 years with the Smith family, I had been completely ignored. In the past, Donald only had eyes for Fiona. And I only dared to admire him secretly from the shadows. I thought he would say he didn't know me, or perhaps refer to me as Fiona's younger sister, but I never expected him to approach me awkwardly while complaining, Nancy, my head hurts. Why won't you hug me? Don't you like me anymore? He put on a pitiful expression, and Nancy, why haven't you kicked out that scheming Fiona? I just woke up from a 2-year coma, and the first thing I see is her. I almost fainted again from the shock. Do you have any idea how much I wanted to see you? And as soon as you saw me, you tried to run away. Do you only like me when I'm lying there motionless? If that's really what you prefer, I can go back to being a vegetable. But could you at least say yes to my proposal first? Did Donald develop a romantic obsession after just one nap? He stopped in front of me, leaning against the wall with his hand. Nancy, I like you. I want to marry you. I never expected Donald to propose to me so suddenly. I had just rejected Fiona's proposal, and before I became a vegetable, we barely interacted. He seemed to notice my confusion and began to explain, Nancy, I know it was you who took care of me for 2 years. I know you like me. I remember you crying by my ear when Bob wasn't around, how you wiped my palms with a warm towel, applied hand cream, and washed my face. When I was conscious but couldn't wake up, I made a decision in my heart. If I ever woke up, I would definitely be with you, cherish you, and marry you. Now that I'm really awake, even though my legs are still a bit weak, once they get stronger, let's get married right away, okay? That way I can be close to you. He. I saw him leaning against the wall, his body swaying uncontrollably and somewhat comically, so I reached out to support him. He leaned into me naturally, radiating pure happiness. I knew Nancy would take pity on me. These flowers are for you, Nancy. Fiona isn't much, but she did pick some lovely flowers. They suit you perfectly. I began to suspect that Donald had been replaced by an imposter. The old Donald was always serene and calm. He would never have spoken in that tone. Nancy, why aren't you speaking? Will you marry me? I opened my mouth but no sound came out. Donald frowned and lifted my chin. Nancy, what's wrong with your voice? I still didn't speak. So Donald took me to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor's diagnosis remained the same. The car accident 2 years ago damaged the vocal cords, causing voice loss due to delayed treatment. Upon obtaining this result, Donald's eyes turned red. Nancy, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't be like this. I really deserve to die. Seeing him sitting in the wheelchair, utterly heartbroken, I recalled the car accident from 2 years ago. Back then, Donald deeply loved Fiona. When Fiona returned from competing abroad, Donald personally went to pick her up by car. My father had asked me to help Fiona with her luggage, so I also got into Donald's car. But that day, during a heavy storm, on the highway in front of the airport, a car with failed brakes came straight toward me. Before losing consciousness, I thought it was the end, but I still woke up. Later, those who examined the accident scene said Donald's emergency response was excellent. If he hadn't changed direction at the last moment, I surely would have died. Now, only my vocal cords were affected, and with timely treatment, they could still recover. As for Donald, there was no guarantee he would ever wake up again. Losing my voice wasn't his fault. On the contrary, he saved me. So I took his hand and wrote words in his palm. It's none of your business. It's not your fault. The problem arose because I didn't receive treatment in time, not because of you." He remained sad, but soon his attention shifted. "If it can be treated, why didn't the Smith family treat you? Both daughters of the Smith family, Fiona can get a piano worth 7 million, and they didn't want to treat your voice. The Smith family is truly wealthy, and Fiona and I are indeed sisters, but I am the overlooked one." To comfort Fiona, who was heartbroken over Donald's car accident, they completely ignored my presence. Perhaps to this day, they still don't know that I've lost my voice. Donald didn't know what was going through my mind. But he took my hand, angry yet determined. "Nancy, I will definitely help you get your voice back. The suffering the Smith family has caused you, I'll make sure they pay for it all." I was about to tell Donald some of my grievances about the Smith family when, unexpectedly, my father called. The connection had barely been established when a torrent of angry curses began to flow. "Nancy, after all these years of raising you, you're still a disgrace. Letting you take care of Donald was a blessing. And you dare to gossip in front of him." She couldn't speak, and he continued without restraint. "You know Fiona is terrified of dogs, and yet you let Donald unleash the dog on her. How could you be so cruel? I know what you think of Donald, but let me tell you, if Donald wakes up, the only one he'll marry is Fiona. You'd better keep your dirty thoughts to yourself. If you let Fiona marry Donald, you might still have a decent life. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Come back before 8 tonight. Kneel down and apologize to Fiona. If you don't come crawling back, I'll disown you as my daughter." I've grown accustomed to her sudden outbursts, and they hardly affect me anymore. But Donald was furious. He let out a cold laugh and started clicking his tongue. "Oh ho ho, the pot calling the kettle black. If you think she's not presentable, then what does that make you? I think you're not just presentable. You're out of this world. Taking care of me is a blessing. Why don't you come and do it yourself? Such a great blessing, you should seize it." With that dead fish attitude, does he need someone to give way? I've been wanting to set the dogs on him for a long time. Next time, keep that dead fish under control, so he doesn't come to my house again and bite my dogs. And another thing, since when am I only allowed to marry that dead fish? What? Has the Smith family's business expanded all the way to the heavens in the last 2 years? Do they now manage the heavens, the earth, and people's marriages? My father was completely stunned by Donald's outburst and took a while to find his voice again. You are Donald. If you think I'm not, you can also call me Dad. I just woke up and my mind isn't clear yet. If you're willing to call me that, I'm willing to accept it. And, tonight at 8, right? You'd better wait at home. We'll definitely come back to kneel and apologize properly. You'd better prepare. I'm afraid you won't be able to bear my knees when I get there. Donald, you're here too. That's not it. Don't listen to Nancy's nonsense." Donald didn't hesitate and hung up directly on my father. Finally, he added, still trying to talk nonsense in front of me, "Nancy, today I'm going back with you to the Smith family, just in time to see how Lucas plans to make you kneel." On the way to the Smith family, Donald asked me some strange questions. I couldn't shake the feeling that Donald was preparing some big move. I advised him not to meddle in these matters, as I could handle them myself. However, he was extremely agitated. "Nancy, just consider me a meddler. I've been laid up for 2 years and I'm bored to death. Think of it as letting me stretch my legs." At 8 o'clock sharp, I arrived punctually at the Smith family residence. The servant led Donald and me into the Smith family's living room, where my father was sitting on the sofa with a whip placed beside him. Fiona and her mother, adorned with exquisite makeup and luxurious cheongsams, were gracefully preparing tea. When they saw me, their eyes filled with disdain. Clearly, they were genuinely expecting me to kneel and apologize. Seeing that no one was following behind me, my father smiled contemptuously and threw the whip at my feet. "Nancy, kneel down and apologize to your sister right now." I didn't move, so Bob pushed Donald from behind me. Seeing Donald appear, he stiffened for a moment but quickly forced a smile. But Donald didn't see my father's smile. What caught his attention was the whip thrown at my feet. "TSK, the whip is already prepared. It seems they really want us to kneel and apologize. If we don't kneel, are they going to tie us up and give us 50 lashes? Fiona and Mrs. Smith were also left dumbfounded. After all, everyone thought Donald wouldn't come to the Smith family for my sake. My father gave Donald an apologetic smile. "Donald, you've just recovered from a serious illness. Why don't you rest at home? Who asked you to worry?" My father was left speechless by the retort. But Donald wasn't finished with him. "I've just recovered from a serious illness and can't kneel down on my own, Uncle Smith. Could you lend me a hand? To say that the Smith and Ming families are old friends is actually flattering the Smith family. If it weren't for old Mr. Ming still remembering his personal friendship with old Mr. Smith, the Smith family would have fallen far behind the Miller family long ago. Donald is one of the heirs to the Miller family fortune. Currently, most of the investment funds for the Smith family business come from the Miller family. Naturally, my father wouldn't dare offend him." Upon hearing Donald's words, his face lit up with smiles. "Donald, you must be joking. How could I let you kneel? If anyone should kneel, it's Nancy. She made a mistake and deserves to be taught a lesson." My father looked at me with a warning in his eyes. I understood he wanted me to be more discreet. As usual, I didn't react. But Donald noticed his look and asked him a question. "What wrong has Nancy done to deserve the use of a whip?" My father seemed to have found an outlet for his anger and began to slander me. "Donald, you spent more time with Fiona when you were young, so naturally you don't know Nancy's true nature. We've given her the best, but she's always speaking ill of her sister behind her back. You don't know how many times our Fiona has suffered because of her. You know how kind and well-mannered our Fiona has always been. Did you also listen to her nonsense and start doubting Fiona this time? We just want her to watch her tongue, to lower one to raise another, to belittle me in order to praise Fiona, and ultimately to place all the blame on me. This has been their constant strategy over the years. Fiona has long grown accustomed to it, so she gladly participates." "Exactly. Brother Donald, Nancy is always slandering me and knows how to manipulate others. She doesn't even speak when questioned." "Brother Donald, you've been deceived." "Nephew Donald, that Nancy has ended up like this is also my fault as her father. It absolutely is your fault." Donald could no longer contain himself and cut off my father. "Even now, all of you still think Nancy's silence is just an act to gain sympathy, rather than considering that she might have a problem with her voice. You told me not to believe Nancy's words. But Nancy hasn't said a single word to me so far. If I don't trust her, should I trust you? Did Nancy lose her voice?" My father was shocked and bewildered, but Fiona and Mrs. Smith refused to believe it. "Impossible. How could Nancy lose her voice? She must be lying to you, Brother Donald." "Exactly. There's no way Nancy has throat problems." Donald, naturally, wouldn't care whether they believed him or not. Could the hospital results be wrong? If Uncle Smith claims he's been taking good care of Nancy, why didn't you know about her throat problems? Well, Nancy never mentioned having throat problems, so of course we wouldn't know. Donald was not only furious now, but also shocked. Something is wrong with Nancy's voice, and they blame her for not telling them. "I can't take it anymore. Why don't you come with me to the hospital tomorrow to get your brain checked?" Donald kept his cool, and my father simply couldn't keep up with him. Donald wasted no more words and went straight to the point. "I'm here today to break off the engagement with Fiona. Over the years, the Smith family has gained a lot by taking advantage of the Miller family, so my father naturally disagreed with canceling the engagement and immediately resorted to the usual elders lecture. "Donald, the engagement was arranged by the old master. You can't decide this alone. Besides, our Fiona has waited for you for 2 years. It's truly disheartening that you want to break it off on the very first day you wake up. The engagement was arranged by Grandpa, but I can still make the decision. And what's this about Fiona waiting for me for 2 years?" Donald replied sarcastically. "Was she playing around with other men for 2 years or waiting for me? Don't you know the truth?" My father and Mrs. Smith were completely bewildered, clearly unaware of what Fiona had done. I was also quite shocked. Not even Mrs. Smith knew that Fiona had a boyfriend, yet she had brought him to Donald's hospital room. I suppose she thought Donald would never wake up, which is why she was so bold, never expecting things to turn against her so quickly. Donald turned his gaze to Fiona, demanding that she confess on her own. Unexpectedly, Fiona stubbornly insisted that she had done nothing wrong. "Brother Donald, are you still confused because you just woke up? I've waited for you for 2 years. And now you want to abandon me? You can't do this." Donald was utterly disgusted. "You still have the nerve to disgust me like this? You really are an expert at being repulsive. Won't you admit it? I have proof." Donald actually showed a stack of photos and videos, all showing Fiona in intimate situations with various men. The scale is quite large. I saw them when I arrived. Each photo clearly shows Fiona's face. There's no way they can pretend not to recognize her. But the Miller family is the most worthy of an alliance with the Smith family. My father and Mrs. Smith wouldn't allow the relationship between Donald and Fiona to break apart like this. As expected, she quickly regained her composure and began persuading Donald. Nephew Donald, you know you were asleep for 2 years. During that time, Fiona made some mistakes, but now that you're awake, she won't repeat them. Exactly. Our Fiona still has feelings for you. You and Fiona grew up together. You're the perfect match. Yes, brother Donald, I'll finish them off right away. Even though I had anticipated it, his words still left me stunned. This was an attempt to persuade Donald to acknowledge Fiona. Donald was so furious that he gritted his teeth. Don't say we make a good couple. I'm afraid lightning might strike you and end up hitting me and Nancy too. Do I look like someone with peculiar tastes? Just because you say you like me. Should I turn around immediately? Do I seem that desperate? No one dared to call Donald desperate. Not even me. My father didn't dare to agree with his words, but tried to persuade Donald. Donald, we all make mistakes. Fiona just made the kind of mistake most girls would make. You have to believe she still loves you more than anyone else. If you can forgive her, you two are still a match made in heaven. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I had imagined countless scenarios where I would hear something like, he just made the kind of mistake all men make. Forgive him, and you two are still a match made in heaven, but I never expected my father to use this exact phrase to persuade Donald. I, who had remained silent the whole time, let out a mocking laugh, drawing their gazes toward me. Naturally, Fiona and Mrs. Smith hated me deeply. While my father's eyes were dark with reproach, Donald's gaze was different from everyone else's. He grabbed my hand with a certain urgency. Uncle Smith, I have to go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. I'll ask my brother to get you a neurologist. Do you want to come with me tomorrow to see the doctor? Forget it. Don't come with me. I'm afraid of catching something. Donald interrupted him directly. My grandfather has always supported my decisions. This engagement is definitely cancelled. I won't hold Fiona's actions over the past 2 years against her. But don't make things worse by clinging on. Also, I'm going to marry Nancy. As soon as he said these words, all three of them were shocked at the same time. Donald, are you going to marry Nancy? Now I finally understand. This is Donald's big move. Donald wants to marry me, even though I told him to think it over carefully before bringing it up again. It's clear that his attitude is very firm. But how could Fiona ever allow it? Nancy, why are you stealing Donald from me? Why don't you just die already? In the Smith family, Fiona always stood above me. She looked down on me, and everyone knew she was the brightest star. But Donald broke off his engagement with her and chose to marry me, the sister she despised. Naturally, she couldn't accept it. Nancy, you should have died 2 years ago. I couldn't respond to Fiona's fury, so Donald answered for me. Are you crazy, dead fish? Is it someone's fault just because I like them? You even curse people to die. How can you be so evil? But if she hadn't seduced you, you wouldn't have. I will, Donald said determinedly. Nancy didn't seduce me, Fiona. We grew up together and you know I can't tolerate your deceit and betrayal. Canceling the engagement is the best outcome for both of us. If you insist on desperately clinging on, don't blame me for making things ugly. The threat was evident, and Fiona remained silent. Mrs. Smith and my father were left speechless before Donald arrived. He had already told me that he intended to marry me, not to ask my father for permission, but to inform them. I will offer 20% of the Miller family's shares as an engagement gift. How much? My father was shocked. Fiona and Mrs. Smith were too, and I was also taken aback. I can't blame my father. It's mainly because Donald offered too much. I took Donald's hand, indicating that he was exaggerating and being too impulsive, but Donald held my hand firmly and said seriously. Everyone knows I was in a vegetative state for 2 years. At this moment, I can only offer 20% of the shares. If in the future I can give more, I will give it all to Nancy. But for now, 20% is enough to ensure that Nancy lives comfortably. Of course it's enough, Donald. Are you really giving the shares as a dowry? Fiona and Mrs. Smith had the same doubt. The 20% stake of the Miller family represents far more than just financial security. Based on the current market value of the Miller shares, that 20% would be enough to buy 10 Smith families. Moreover, the Miller family's renewable energy industry and innovative agricultural development are growing rapidly with promising prospects. Acquiring 20% of their shares would guarantee a bright future. My father had previously pushed Fiona and Donald, hoping that Fiona could obtain shares from Donald, now that the shares are right in front of us. My father might actually accept my marriage to Donald. As expected, Donald, since you've shown such sincerity in wanting to marry Nancy, I won't stand in your way. After all, Nancy is also I already have a draft of the stock transfer agreement. I originally planned to give it to you, Uncle Smith. But it seems you don't treat Nancy as your own daughter, so I've decided to give the shares to Nancy. For me, seeing my father's expression change abruptly. I now understood what kind of big move Donald had been planning with all those strange questions he asked me on the way here. He just wanted to make my father nervous. Donald, since you're giving the shares as an engagement gift, I am her father, and it's not appropriate for you to hand them over to her. Donald clicked his tongue slightly and nodded in agreement with my father. You're right. I also think giving away shares isn't very appropriate. I'd better use real estate as an engagement gift instead. As soon as these words were spoken, my father became restless again. It's still more suitable to give the shares to Nancy. Donald let out an enigmatic laugh. Did he do it? Of course. Since Uncle Smith says it's appropriate, then I won't change it. The transfer agreement will be given to Nancy tomorrow. However, I'm taking Nancy with me today. No, my father did not agree with Donald taking me away. This is Nancy's home, Donald. If you truly care about Nancy, you should let her stay at home. It's laughable to say it, but in my 14 years with the Smith family, I have heard my father tell me to leave. I have heard Fiona and Mrs. Smith call me a bitch, but no one ever said the Smith family was my home. Now, for the sake of these actions, my father has surprisingly called this place my home, but I don't care, because my 14 years in the Smith family were spent trying to figure out one thing. A very cliché and melodramatic story about the wealthy elite. The company heiress became infatuated with a young employee and pursued him relentlessly. Unable to resist the heiress's sweet charms, the employee began a secret relationship with her behind his girlfriend's back. Later, he realized the heiress truly loved him and wasn't just playing around. He agreed to marry her while continuing to deceive his longtime girlfriend. After the heiress became pregnant, she also got her girlfriend pregnant, who still had no suspicions. The young wife gave birth to a daughter in her first pregnancy. After recovering, she discovered that her husband was still involved with his ex-girlfriend and even had a child with her. Furious, she caused a scene in the delivery room. Only then did the girlfriend find out that her partner had secretly married and had a child without her knowledge, unintentionally making her the mistress who destroyed someone else's marriage. She cut all ties with the man and took the child with her. However, the rumors of being a single mother and the helplessness in love led her to suffer from postpartum depression. She endured for 8 years, with the dawn of hope seemingly within reach. But after meeting my father and Mrs. Smith just once, all her 8 years of perseverance crumbled. In the end, she jumped from the 7th floor, severing all ties with the troubles and longings of the world. During the 14 years I was taken in by the Smith family, I always wondered what the person my mother often mentioned was really like. In the end, I discovered there was nothing special about him. There was no one to blame for his fate. If she hadn't been so stubborn, if she had withdrawn when she first noticed something was wrong, if she hadn't plunged headfirst into the whirlpool, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Her lack of ambition frustrated me, but the revenge she sought still had to be carried out. Although I was with the Smith family, I didn't stay with them at night. Even if Donald hadn't taken me today, I would have left on my own. Just as I was about to express my intentions, Donald grabbed my hand. I looked down as he leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Stay here tonight and teach them a lesson. They harassed you before. Take this chance to get your revenge." Donald's words left me torn between laughter and tears. So this was his sudden idea of transferring the shares to me. I wanted to tell him it wasn't necessary, but he seemed completely determined to do it. Uncle Smith is right. Nancy will stay with the Smith family today, and I'll come to pick her up tomorrow. The stock transfer agreement will also be delivered tomorrow. My father quickly nodded in agreement. Donald didn't stay either and asked Bob to accompany him out. After Donald left, the Smith family's living room fell silent. My father, Mrs. Smith, and Fiona stared at me intently. Nancy, Mrs. Smith was the first to move, but my father warned them first. It was Fiona who didn't know how to seize the opportunity. Since Donald is going to marry Nancy, don't cause any trouble. My father has been managing the company for years. Since Fiona and Mrs. Smith don't know how to run the business, even if they're unhappy, they wouldn't dare challenge my father's decision now. She shot me a furious look before turning around and heading upstairs. For once, my father spoke to me kindly. "Nancy, don't worry, I'll contact the best doctors to treat your throat. It's my fault as a father for neglecting you all these years. I'll make it up to you." I laughed silently to myself. If he were truly capable of remorse, he would have done so long ago. He wouldn't have waited until now to say it. "I'll give you an explanation about your mother's matter, but the Miller family documents that Donald handed over to you must be passed to me." I tore a page from the notebook I was carrying and wrote 3 words. "Why not? Why else? All these years you haven't learned anything about stock management. The Miller family's shares are considerable, and it would be a waste for you to hold them without maximizing their value. Hand them over to me and I'll manage them for you. That's the best option." I looked at him with disdain, unmoved. It was true that I hadn't learned anything about stock management, because he had given all the resources to Fiona. He had even almost made me miss the opportunity to attend university. The absurd part was that he was now using that as an excuse to demand that I hand over the Miller family shares. "Nancy, I will always be your father, even if you married Donald. The decline of the Smith family wouldn't benefit you either. Why don't you hand over the shares to me so I can manage them? From now on, Dad will always be by your side." I had no desire to look at his hypocritical expression. I picked up the pen and wrote, "I can handle the actions myself. You don't understand anything. How could you possibly manage it?" I shoved the photo of my double degree right in his face. He still wanted to say something more. I simply ignored him and started writing furiously, not to mention that I can manage it myself. And even if I couldn't, according to the Miller family's business model, they wouldn't let me hold shares without receiving dividends. What do you get out of it? My father's expression was extremely unpleasant. "Nancy, do you know what the Miller family's shares represent? 20% of the shares could buy 10 companies like the Smith families. You're just sitting there waiting for dividends. Have you gone mad?" I really found it laughable. "You also know how valuable the Miller family's shares are, yet you still ask for them. Why do you think I would give them to you? I am your father. Did you consult your conscience when you said that?" He wanted to say more, but after a moment of reflection, I added, I forgot. You have no conscience. Otherwise, you wouldn't have deceived a woman who truly loved you, driven her to death after her depression, and you certainly wouldn't have abandoned your own daughter, after writing this." I didn't wait for his reaction and walked away. The Miller family's shares are worth a fortune, regardless of whether Donald would actually give them to me. Even if he did, I wouldn't hand them over to my father to manage, but I never expected Donald to actually give me the shares. 20% of the shares, meant for me. Mrs. Smith and my father were shocked, and so was I. My father still tried to persuade me. "Nancy, let me handle these shares. I promise I'll take good care of them." I laughed. "No need, Dad. You've worked hard most of your life. It's time for you to enjoy yourself. Besides, I don't want these shares." I didn't sign it, but I asked the lawyer to take the agreement away. After they left, my father and Mrs. Smith showed their true colors. "Nancy, why are you hesitating? So many actions, and you're just going to give up on them. If you don't want them, you can give them to us. All these years raising you have been a waste." Seeing their ugly faces, I knew it was time to put the matter I had been busy with on the agenda. I wrote them a note. "The shares belong to Donald. Even if they were given to me as a gift, I wouldn't accept them, much less let you have them. You said you've raised me all these years for nothing. Well, what comes next will make you regret ever raising me." "What do you mean by that?" I didn't answer, but turned around and ran out of the Smith family's house. Donald's call came at that very moment. "Nancy, I gave you the shares. Why didn't you take them? Did the Smith family intimidate you?" I couldn't answer him, and he grew anxious. "Hide first. I'm going to the Smith's house right now. Wait for me." I found a text-to-speech device and told Donald what I wanted to say. "No need for you to come. I'll find you." I didn't dare stay at the Smith family's house for too long, so naturally I had to go find Donald to confess and then start doing what I needed to do. Then I'll wait for you at home. Nancy, come quickly." When I arrived at Donald's house, he had just finished his rehabilitation training. Bob tactfully suggested that I help push Donald's wheelchair. Donald was still a bit noisy. "Nancy, I asked my carefree older brother abroad to help find a doctor for your throat. Your voice will definitely recover. You must hold on to those shares. Once you have them, let's see how the Smith family dares to bully you. That 20% is all I can handle for now. After I recover for a while and secure more transferable shares, I'll give them all to you." I even learned a little sign language, though not much. "Can you tell me if I'm doing it right?" She showed me the sign language she had learned. I wrote her a note. Very standard. I didn't expect you to learn sign language so quickly, although your movements were a bit stiff. They were all very precise. He immediately got excited. Standard is good. I specifically found a sign language teacher to learn while doing recovery training. From now on, you can communicate with me in sign language, and I will understand. A warm current flooded my heart, leaving me speechless with emotion. It's not that I couldn't hear. I just couldn't speak, and yet he could be so considerate. But setting aside emotions, let's return to the topic of actions. I cannot accept the shares. The Miller family's shares are worth a fortune now. I have no reason to take your shares. But he grew anxious. How can you say there's no reason to accept my shares? I am about to marry you. These shares would naturally be yours anyway. Don't tell me that. You wouldn't refuse to marry me, would you? I looked at the cautious Donald. I wrote another note. If your proposal is only out of gratitude for my 2 years of care, giving me money would be enough. There's no need for you to commit or offer me so many shares. A hurt look flashed in his eyes. Nancy, I've told you. It's not that I don't know you took care of me for 2 years. I know everything. I just couldn't wake up. I don't just appreciate you for taking care of me for 2 years. I really like you. Why don't you believe me? Of course I didn't believe him. I had seen how Donald fell in love with Fiona. I don't know what would make him fall in love with me. If 2 years of unwavering devotion aren't enough to make me fall in love, then you are blind, and so am I. I will accept Donald's words, but I will not accept his actions. No matter what he says, I will not accept his actions. He couldn't persuade me, so he tried to convince me of something else. I've already contacted the best doctors abroad. If you won't accept the shares, at least let them treat your throat. Okay, there's no way to refuse this. As he arranged for the doctor's return from abroad, I was also adjusting my diet to prepare for surgery and beginning to gather evidence. However, before I could hand the evidence over to the journalists, rumors about my mother interfering in someone else's family, and me coming between my sister and her fiancé, were already making headlines. Early scandal involving the Smith family CEO. Smith family heiress loses fiancé to illegitimate sister. 3 trending topics, 2 video interviews. I clicked to watch. Mrs. Smith lamented, "My husband worked tirelessly in his early years and fell victim to a woman's schemes. She took advantage of the situation, came between my husband and me, and then disappeared while secretly pregnant with his child. Now her daughter has returned to steal my daughter's fiancé. Is there no justice left in this world?" my sister Fiona said. Donald and I grew up together. After his accident, I waited for him for 2 years, but who would have thought that upon waking up, he would break off our engagement to marry my younger sister? I couldn't understand why until later I discovered that my sister always knew that even though a vegetative patient couldn't wake up, their consciousness remained clear. She took advantage of the situation and stole him away. How is that any different from being a homewrecker? Listening to her words, I couldn't help but find it all ridiculous. I really don't understand it. What good does it do for Lucas to make Mrs. Smith reveal past incidents with my mom and tarnish her reputation? As for Fiona, I am even more confused. Donald has evidence but doesn't want to talk, and besides, indeed, I am not the only one who doesn't understand it. The comments section is just as confused. So, what's the point of Mrs. Smith saying all this? To expose that her husband is involved with another woman? Or that her 2 daughters don't get along? Is this how the rich and powerful fight? But, to be fair, being plotted against by a waitress and her daughter is really disgusting. How should I put it? Like mother, like daughter, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She got involved in someone else's marriage, and her daughter got involved with her sister's partner. I've always said that illegitimate children are nothing but trouble. And what about the Miller family's CEO? Did his brain get damaged in that car accident 2 years ago? How could he be attracted to such a low-class woman? Her harsh words don't affect me in the slightest. I registered and verified my identity, and soon someone sent me a private message. Is this woman registering and verifying her account to ride the wave of attention and get rich? Now that she's made headlines, the most shocking event of the year. A mistress who interfered in someone else's relationship dares to show up so brazenly. I don't read these people's private messages. I edited a text and directly tagged Fiona and Lucas. I remember asking a week ago if Mr. C had a conscience. Now that I think about it, I was too naive. How could a man who keeps an ex-girlfriend in the dark while being married have a conscience? As for Miss C, even the doctors aren't sure about things, and yet I somehow knew in advance. Don't you think it's ridiculous? And let's not forget that you weren't exactly inactive during these 2 years waiting for Mr. Ming. My response quickly generated comments, all questioning whether my words were true or false. I was about to reply when Donald suddenly arrived. Nancy, are you okay? He has been doing recovery training for a week. At this moment, he can barely stand. He probably saw the news online and came to ask if I was okay. I shook my head. I also showed him the content I posted. After reading it, he became furious. I don't know what Lucas means, but how dare that dead fish say such things? I smiled without saying a word. Donald snorted coldly. Nancy, don't worry about these matters anymore. Leave them to me. The doctor I contacted has arrived. Go get your throat treated. I really had no intention of intervening, so I simply handed over the evidence I had gathered to the journalist. The doctor said there was a possibility my voice could recover, though it would require surgery followed by a period of rest. The day I entered the operating room, my friend made public the evidence he had collected. Before entering the operating room, Donald said he would wait for me outside, and my friend also wished me a successful surgery. When I woke up from the surgery, it was already the next day. The Smith family scandal has already caused a huge uproar on the internet. Photos of Lucas and my mother during their relationship, their letters, and the precious videos my mother kept prove that they were once a couple, and that was before he married Mrs. Smith. There were also the scandalous news about Mrs. Smith in her youth, and the accidents deliberately caused by Grandpa C during his rise to wealth, the illicit transactions after Lucas took control of the Smith family, the substandard products they once manufactured, as well as evidence of the crimes where Mrs. Smith and he had accidentally caused someone's death by pushing them, along with proof that Fiona intentionally pushed someone during an early dance competition, resulting in a lifelong disability, were all revealed one by one. When I woke up, the local news was reporting on the Smith family scandals, their assets being seized and the family going bankrupt, as well as footage of my father and Mrs. Smith being arrested, and Fiona being held accountable. While checking my phone, I discovered that after I entered the operating room, Donald had also posted numerous photos of Fiona going out with many men. The photos were quite intimate, hardly appropriate for someone whose fiancé was still in a hospital bed. There are quite a few people in the comments section condemning them. Lucas dated Nancy's mother in college. Later, he married a wealthy heiress, and we were all puzzled. Who would have thought there were such hidden stories? The woman who supported him for over a decade, yet he could still kill her. What a monster. My son was harmed by their family's unregulated products years ago. I could never find evidence, but now his daughter has exposed it. This is karma. How come no one knew back then that Mrs. Smith hired 4 male models in a single night? Now I understand. The Smith family tradition is quite solid. The mother asks for 4 male models. Her daughter asks for 6. Truly each generation surpasses the last. So, when she said she waited for him for 2 years, is that how she waited? And she still claims someone else took advantage of the situation. This time I support Donald marrying Nancy, a vegetative state, and yet she stayed by his side for 2 years without leaving. If it were me, I would truly value someone who treated me like that and put them on a pedestal. Donald even responded to this comment. Donald is doing everything he can to have her in the palm of his hand. At that moment, my journalist friend brought the flowers close to my nose, celebrating your rebirth. I worked hard to make the moment perfect so you could wake up to see the fall of the Smith family. Of course, Donald also helped a lot. My throat still couldn't produce words, so I just smiled. My friend also smiled and said, but he's even busier than I am. Do you know what he's busy with? I shook my head. My friend pointed at the door. He's busy organizing his wife fund, saving up to get married. I turned my head and saw Donald dressed in a pink suit, holding a bouquet of purple double lilies. The scene overlapped with my first encounter with him. Who would have thought that the boy who gave me the wrong flowers 14 years ago would turn out to be the one for me? Never mind, 14 years, and he's still here. After hearing the previous story, what do you think? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. I look forward to reading them. If you liked this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my